Well, it's Sunday, and we're still in here working on the skiff, so we're addicted, I guess, and we're having some fun. We're just dry drilling this second plank on the port side up forward at the stem here before we bed it and spring it into position. And the next thing we're going to do is flatten the chine logs off to accept the bottom planking. But right now, I'd like to show you a few things about this drill bit and address this little issue about the smoke or whatever it is that comes up into the air when I'm drilling there. You know, I don't really want to call it smoke or steam. I would say it's a smoldering of the drillings that are stuck in the flutes of the bit, because, you know, as you drill with a tapered drill bit, it's kind of the only drill bit that I know of that doesn't just cut on the ends. It cuts all the way up as you push it in because it's tapered, so it's asked to do some things that most drill bits aren't asked to do. This particular drill bit is not dull, really. It's just the way the manufacturer manufactured it. It works fantastic. I'm running it awful fast. That's one of the problems that's causing the friction. But what happens here is that once you get it a little warmed up after a couple holes, it didn't smoke that time at all, but after a couple holes, what happens is the oak that you're drilling at the tip of it, it heats up the drill bit quite a bit, and the drillings go up into the filings, and as they try to eject at the top, they're rotating around inside of that cedar. Now, I've done a little experiment, and I found out that the cedar smokes pretty much more than any other wood. There you go. And the reason for that is, I believe, is because it's got oils in it, and it's also got minerals and different things that a lot of woods don't have. So what happens is it's just a friction thing here that's causing this to happen, and it really isn't the way the drill bit is cutting. You know, if you pull it out many more times as you're drilling, or if you were to wax the drill bit a little bit, it kind of ejects a little bit. So when you do pull it out, at least, the drillings will come off of the bit, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes you're drilling and you back up the bit, but the drillings don't fly off of it. So you've got it clogged up a little bit. So it's really about friction. So Andrew's just going to keep right on drilling those holes in front of me, and I'm going to do the driving on this side. I kind of like doing the driving anyhow. And basically, we've just kept working right as a team, just like we always do, and that's the way we like it. Well, we're just finishing up fastening on the port side back aft here, and there's just a few other things I'd like to say to you. These screws that we're pumping in here, I didn't buy these screws just yesterday. I bought these screws from Jamestown Distributors in Jamestown, Rhode Island in 1980 when I used to live in Jamestown, and they were right down the hill from me. I could roll right down the hill to their place. And I've been saving these screws ever since, looking for the right project, and this is it, building the TotalBoat work skiff. And we just want to thank Jamestown Distributors once again for all the things that they make possible. Now, I just want to show you one more thing here about driving these screws down low here. Now, it's actually very easy because I can get myself here on a 3-point landing. 1, 2, 3, and I can stabilize myself really, really nicely down here and really lean right into it. And the idea here is to not let your right hand wobble around, because it'll just wiggle it out of the screw slot. So you can see that it's very simple for me to control it. And there you go. So we've got a couple of planks on both sides of our skiff right now, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the old man's method here. Now, the old man's method, as far as I'm concerned, gave me a couple of options. At this point, I used to flip the skiffs over and put the gunnels on them first, and I think the last skiff that I built, I actually didn't do it that way. I put the bottom on first. So I can do it either which way, and now I've decided to change my mind a little bit and put the bottom on it first before I go for the gunnels. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make the top of this plank along the boat symmetrical on both sides, so that the boat is symmetrical at the top, just like we've already pinched it symmetrical at the chine level here. And what we're out to do is to make sure we get this flexibility out of it right here, you see, because we can't have that. If for some reason the chine wasn't exactly the right angle, the bottom planking would start to influence the shape of the top of the boat as we fasten the bottom planking down. That wouldn't be the best thing. We've got to stabilize it up here first. And then we've got to take and whittle this down to be exactly the right angle, so that the side of the boat doesn't influence the bottom planking to be curved whatsoever, or the bottom planking doesn't influence the shape of the boat as we apply it. So Andrew and I are going to take a couple of pieces of fur here, and we're going to clamp them from frame head to frame head, 2 of them. We're going to drill a couple of holes through the fur there that'll accept a couple of 8-penny nails, because we want it nailed on there so it can't slide around, and we also want to be able to remove the clamps. We don't need those hanging there all the time. And the next thing we're going to do is divide the after side of the stem in half there. The stem is 3 7/8 across the after side, so it's going to be 1 15/16 to the center. We'll take that with a pair of dividers. We're going to tie our line onto a shingle nail and tack that into the center of the stem and draw that right down the middle. And we've got a nail tacked right there in the stern, right in the center of the outboard aperture, and we're going to pull the line right up nice and tight and tie it off to that. Now I'm standing here amidships on the starboard side at the widest point of the boat, right between the 2 pieces of fur that Andrew and I just clamped from the frame head to the frame head and nailed on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a rule, a folding rule. I'm going to fold it out about 40 inches, and I'm going to measure from the very top of that second plank that I put on there to that string. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to hold the rule from sliding back and forth with one hand, and I'm going to wiggle this rule up and down, and slide it in until I can see it just follow that string. Now once it does, I'm going to swing my head right back over here and read that measurement at the outside of the plank, and it's 37.5 inches. Now what I have to do is go over to the other side of the boat and put it up against that same frame head, same position. We're going to stretch it right across there, right straight athwart ships. Swing it up and down until it just barely follows the line, like so. Maybe back it off there and flirt with it a little bit more until it's just right. Take a look on the outside, 37.5 inches, just like the other side, wouldn't you know it? So it's measured perfectly symmetrical one side to the other, and all we want to do is hold it exactly like that. So I've clamped in a little diagonal from the bottom end of the frame on one side to the top of the frame on the other side, and that seems to stabilize it absolutely perfectly. You can tell when I put my knee against this frame and try to push that the boat doesn't even want to move at all. It's perfectly stable, and now I'm ready to surface the chine logs and get ready to put the bottom planking on.